Welcome into Jets Nation Radio, sponsored by Betway. Make sure you like and subscribe to Jets Nation Radio so you never miss a podcast. Welcome into Jets Nation Radio. I'm Angus Hout, always joined by Ray Howe. Before I get to you, Ray, I got a couple of good announcements, and we'll also shout out our good friends at Betway. First of all, we have a brand new podcast coming. Ray, I mean, if you want to hop in with Lex and I, you can, but it's going to be Lex and Goose talking hockey. We're just going to be talking, well, about hockey. If you're wondering who is Lex, that is, if you listen to Kiss 102.3, Matt Barron in the midday show, his wife and I are going to be talking hockey. She's a big fan. She had her own podcast for a little while there and is incredibly smart about hockey. So I'm very excited about that. So make sure you tune in for Lex and Goose talking hockey. Also, do us the subscribe thingy. We also have an NHL All-Star going to talk to me next week. So stick around for that. I'm not going to tell you which NHL All-Star, but odds are you can guess who it is because he's the only All-Star that's going to give me the time of day. He's also 6'8". So, that'll tell you right there. And I got to give a shout out to our good friends at Betway. Go check out Betway if you're in Ontario, 19 plus. And NHL futures odds still up there. Are you going to bet on the Winnipeg Jets? Ray, the last time we recorded, I said, hey, I'm going to tell you what you would win if the Jets pulled off a big W and you bet $10. It would be $410 is what you would walk away with in your pocket. So plus 4,100. Go bet on those Jets. Make yourself rich. Betway. Ray, how are you?
Doing good. Kind of missed last week, but we're here now. It's kind of the dog days of the summer where not a lot is happening, but you gotta look to the future here with the junior team roster or the summer showcase and the preseason coming up shortly. So
yeah, we're in
that. To see.
Yeah, definitely in that lull. That's actually my fault for last week. I was busy 4 of the 5 weekdays, and then I went to bed Thursday. I was like, oh shoot, I forgot to record with Ray. I was like, well, too late because I'm already going to a concert tomorrow. I'm not bugging him out before the weekend. And let's face it, there would be zero Jets news between Friday and today because there was none. We did have a bit of Jets news, though. Earth shaking. We got Logan Stanley to sign here in Winnipeg. What was that? $1 million by a year?
Yeah.
Yeah. The thoughts?
Yeah, it's like it's a deal where you don't really it's no gain, no loss. Like you're not losing the player. But again, like Stanley is a 7th defenseman on this team, maybe even 8th. I'm not sure if I would rather have Capobianco in the lineup over him at this point, just because like they play such a different game. So I feel like he's ideally like when he develops, he's like that 5th, 6th defenseman who is pretty physical, kind of like a Dylan, but worse in my mind. But again, like there's only so many spots on a defensive core, and if he's going to get an opportunity elsewhere to be a 6-7 where he's going to be just not playing any games for us, I feel like he's going to have to take that opportunity at some time or another.
You say he could be an 8th, but I almost wonder if he's the 9th defenseman if Declan Chisholm gets his contract signed. I believe that'd be the last Jet to sign this summer. So,
yeah,
like poor Logan Stanley, dude just did not get a good break. And it was all because he got drafted where he got drafted.
Yeah, I only say he's an 8th defenseman. Like it's probably like both Capobianco and Stanley are around a 7th defenseman right now. But I don't see the Jets giving Chisholm time over someone that's played NHL games. And Logan Stanley, even though you ideally want him in your lineup, like you can't deny he's played 100 some odd NHL games compared to Chisholm's like 2. So I feel like Chisholm is going to be the one to bite the bullet before Stanley does, unfortunately.
Which it's so foolish because like I want to like Logan Stanley. Don't get me wrong. He seems like a nice enough guy, but his hockey IQ just isn't there. Like he's got those aspects of being a really good defenseman, but just sometimes his heads are way up in the clouds there. And just those boneheaded decisions, you're like, bro, what's going on? Like, I get that you like last season, he had a couple of those flubs in the few games that he was in. And the season before, we could count almost on two hands every night how many weird little flubs he had.
Yeah. One thing to note with Stanley though too is like with him having these injuries and not getting into as many games, I like the mentality that he has. He said that like the coaching staff didn't really get like a full chance to meet him and realize the player he is. So there's some optimism on Stanley's side on earning a spot and earning more ice time and basically being a better player than what he showed last year in the limited time that he had. So a motivated Stanley to show that even if he's showing it to the Jets, but just to show it around the league on what he can bring, it's going to be important for his future NHL career.
Oh, 100%. Like, we do have the preseason coming up in like a month there, less than a month now. So, like, yeah, maybe we can see some like just stellar Logan Stanley hockey. Maybe he does become that sixth defenseman that we're praying for, or ends up going to somewhere else where he can really have a chance to spread his wings. Good luck to Logan Stanley wherever you go, because yeah, I don't know if Winnipeg is the answer for that guy.
Yeah.
And especially with old man Bones, he's pretty particular about who he puts on the ice. And I mean, like even if let's just say Logan Stanley and Dylan Sandberg have phenomenal preseasons, would you make Nate Schmidt or someone else a seventh defenseman, like one of the full timers?
I don't think so. I think
No.
you're paying them way too much money to do that. Like you're paying Schmidt almost 6 million, you're paying Dylan almost 4 million. Like you you don't have the situation where you I would be fine with a situation where Stanley plays good enough where they force to trade someone like Dylan, where they play Stanley or something like that. But and we're forgetting like Heinola in this whole situation as well. So it's it's a whole like confusion mess on what the Jets are gonna do, and like I feel like two defensemen could honestly be traded from that defense core, and it still wouldn't completely solve all the problems.
Not even traded, but probably lost on the waiver wire. Let's be real at this point.
Yeah, I feel like Chisholm might be the next Kovacevic to be a target for a team for a cheap seventh defenseman. So it's gonna
Yeah.
be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, okay, so we are doing the Jets ranking of importance. I actually like this one. I got a couple of compliments on our first round. So we're gonna get into the bit of the muck and the mire here. Do you have your 19 to 15 pulled up here?
The 20 to 16, yes
20
I
to
do.
16. I am bad at this. Counting backwards was never my strong suit. Again, this is why I got into radio, because you don't have to do much counting backwards. So Ray, let's hear your number 20.
So my number 20, I have Rasmus Kupari. I feel like he's just a really good bottom six player, good defensive game. And you can see like again, like he's a young 23-year-old player who's a first round pick. So there might be some offense there, and it's gonna be interesting to see what he's able to do with a different opportunity and his first time being traded, I feel like too.
My number 20 is Nate Schmidt. Uh, I know some folks think that I don't like this guy. I just don't like his playing style. Fantastic human being, a guy that's obviously great to have in the locker room. And I mean, if I was being smart and countering and, importance of it, or, ranking of importance when it came to the locker room as well, obviously Nate Schmidt moves up probably 10 spots, but just his on ice game in the last year, even though it did pick up right after he got scratched, just hasn't wowed me. I think he's going to be important to some of the young guys, but his on ice appearances, I think we're going to start seeing him be a permanent fixture on the third pairing for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah.
You're 19?
Yeah, so for my number 19, I got Laurent Brossoit. He's going to be a backup goalie for this year for the Winnipeg Jets. And I would have put him higher. He had amazing stats last year in the limited showings that he had, and he beat us in the first round of the playoffs. But again, it's those injuries. Like, I'm not sure if we're going to have to count on Colin Delia to come up in any situation like that. But again, we know what we're getting with Brossoit. Like, it's going to be better than Riddick. It's going to be better. It's one of the best backup goalies that the Jets have had in Winnipeg since they've come back. So you know what you're going to get with him. And again, like he's best friends with Hellebuck, so that's another bonus there too. So it's going to be interesting to see a motivated Laurent Brossoit because he said he wanted to be a starter. So this may be his opportunity if something happens with Hellebuck where he may be the Jets starting goalie next year if he plays good enough to earn that.
Ooh, I like that. I like when you say stuff like that, telling me that Laurent Brossoit is probably going to be our starter next year. Because yeah, like honestly, he's at that point in his life where he can do it. I'm excited for next season, even if we don't have Connor Hellebuck. I believe that Laurent Brossoit will just blossom into the man that well, we all love him, or at least I do. I don't know about you. I can't speak on your behalf. Uh, 19 for me is Rasmus Kapari. 66 games last season, 57 the season before. So the guy's like obviously gotten better where he's playing most games in the league. He's probably going to be an important fixture on the fourth line for the Jets. And, if injuries happen, he might be a guy that could actually sneak up into the third line potentially here as well. And I mean, 54% in the faceoff dot. Yeah, you're going to like a lot out of this guy. So yeah, my number 19.
Yeah. So for my number 18, it's not gonna like wanted to put this guy higher. He's an absolute warrior, and it's Morgan Barron. Like he had an amazing year last year. I feel like when I think of like a Jets player, like just like an ideal kind of person as a Jet, I feel like Morgan Barron and Lowry are like the first two players that come to mind. Just a huge body, grind in the corners, and get the puck and score. So it was his first full season with a Jets uniform on, and he performed pretty well. Like he was a physical body, played third, fourth line minutes, and he took a skate to the face. Like not every single player can do that and come back to the game and be as efficient as he is. So it's going to be interesting to see where he plays next year, especially with the additions to with Iafallo, Velarde, and Kupari. So he might not be that third line winger anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see if he plays to keeping that role too. So it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up.
Well, I'll take your Morgan Barron. I'll raise you an Mason Appleton. Yeah, it kind of surprised me that you had Appleton come up in the list before Morgan Barron. I thought you would have been all over that guy. Um, Mason Appleton, just a rough couple seasons where just injuries have gotten him, and just the way she goes with the guy. So he hasn't stayed healthy. I'm not entirely sold on that. And I know that he was placed in that very uncomfortable position of having to play in the top two lines last season because of injuries and was not excelling there at all. But when he was on the line with Adam Lowry, he definitely stepped into his own. It's just, I'm more excited to see what Morgan Barron can do in the long run for the Jets, where I don't even know if Mason Appleton sits on the third line all season. He might be a fourth liner by the end of it if that chemistry between him and Lowry ever dissipates. So, 5 goals in 41 games last year, round that up to 10 if you're doing a full season. So, meh.
Yeah. For my 17th overall Jet, I do have the aforementioned Nate Schmidt. Um, I think he's a pretty important defenseman on that like the Jets decor. Like, of course, it is my sixth rated defenseman, so he is the lowest of the starting six. But I think that his value kind of goes understated. Like just 2 years ago, like he had over 30 points playing on the back end, and again, like he's playing his offside. Like a lot of defensemen aren't able to play on their offside. So like Nate Schmidt's a left shot D man and he's playing on that right side. That's immense value for the Jets because they can play him on either side. And one thing of note is I'm not with Nate Schmidt. Like he was primarily playing with Dylan Sandberg, who admittedly a lot of Jets fans are really excited about. And I feel like partly due to that was being able to play with Nate Schmidt and have a steady defenseman that can was playing his offside, but was able to kind of teach him the ways and be able to adapt to each other there. So I feel like Dylan Sandberg has a little bit to thank for Nate Schmidt there. So, but again, you said it where he is a little overpaid, yes, but it's going to be interesting to see what type of Nate Schmidt we get because in the beauty league he tends to tear it up. So let's see if some of that can translate.
Oh, absolutely. I thought that exact same thing at the end of last summer. Is like, ooh, Nate Schmidt hoisting the Beauty League Cup and looking like an absolute madman. And you go watch those highlights, like they're exciting to see. So I kind of hope that Bones opens it up and just like, you know what, Nate Schmidt, go be an absolute madman for 5 games in the season. Let's see what happens there. Um, and I mean, like, he also just didn't have good connections. Like, Kyle Connor didn't have good connections early on last season, too. So those are just things to remember about Nate Schmidt. My 17
Yeah.
spot is Laurie Bressois. I mean, all the reasons that you gave there, Ray. I mean, came in late in the season, didn't lose in regulation, beat the piss out of the Jets, took on the Oilers until he got hurt. So a potential new starter for the Jets. I mean, yeah, this guy's going to be hugely important, not just for this season, but for the future of the Jets. So, I honestly kind of want to see Connor Hellebuck's games reduced. I know he says he's ready to go on a regular basis, but sometimes you don't realize you're tired until it's too late. And I think because he's having another kid this year, right? Or had a
Yeah,
kid.
maybe yeah, he had a kid recently,
Yeah.
so
So, and I mean, like, there's things that just happen when you're a dad. So if I know he's probably not going to be 1000% supportive in the middle of the night, changing his kid, but you know, you don't get that restful sleep when there's a kid screaming near you. So I think we're going to see more of our backup. And I mean, he's a proven goaltender and probably the future starter because I don't see a reason why Connor Hellebuck would be back in Winnipeg.
okay. And then for my final one for this episode here, this podcast, I got Vlad Nemestikov. I want to put Nemestikov higher just because he is such a reliable player. He's someone that's a Swiss Army knife. You can put him on the power play, you can put him on the penalty kill, you can have him on your first line, you can have him on the fourth line. There's so much adaptability to his game, and he's such a smart player. But again, like he's only played like 20 games with a Jets uniform on. Like I'm gonna find this real quick here. He's played 20 regular season games for the Jets and 7 playoff games. So again, that's only a 27 game sample size. So I want to put him higher just based on the chemistry he had and he was able to make on that second line and that near the end of the season. But I think I need to see more from him before I put him any higher on my list. But it's going to be interesting to see. Like he re-signed with the Jets out of free agency, and we don't often see many free agents that are as capable and smart as him sign a multi-year contract with the Jets. So it's going to be interesting to see what type of Vlad Nemestikov we get for an entire season.
I think we're going to get a fantastic Vladimir Nemestikov. My number 16 and last one for this episode, Neil Pionk. When that guy's on, he is on and he is electric. But when he's being below average like he's been, and I think it's due to injury, even though he's on the top pair or, top 4 for the Jets, I feel like he's kind of cost the Jets some games in the past. And like during the playoffs, that dude turned it on, and like if we could see that for a full 82 games out of Neil Pionk, awesome. And even if you saw that out of 60 games from Neil Pionk, amazing. And all of a sudden he becomes a top 10 player for me. But right now, I'm just kind of like, yeah, Neil Pionk, you're there. You can eat up minutes, play through injury. All right. Sam Gagner signed a PTO with the Edmonton Oilers. That one I'm kind of sad about. I know there's probably like 3 other people in Winnipeg that are like, wow, I feel for you, buddy. But yeah, Sam Gagner, PTO in Edmonton. Hopefully he's the guy that takes a spot in Edmonton because I don't feel like trying to find Sam Gagner playing in anywhere else in the league.
Yeah.
Do you think the Jets lose anything by like not trying to get Sam Gagner back? Like I know like there's no spot for him on the ice, but that kind of presence in the leader in the locker room, like once he disappeared from the team, it almost seemed like the Jets started free falling.
I don't think they're gonna miss, like, not that they're not gonna miss him, but like in the locker room, I feel like he wasn't as vital. Like again, like he is a veteran, he has years of experience playing hockey. But I think that this year for the Jets is kind of a different year than it was last year. Last year was kind of that new leadership. So bringing in guys like Gagner, leaning on guys like Schmidt, and kind of trying to find new players that can step up with Blake Wheeler obviously being removed to the captaincy. But I think this year is a different approach where it's not more relied upon by the veterans, but kind of seeing what you have in these young players like Gabe Velarde, the Cole Perfetti's leadership. You see someone like Sandberg. I feel like they have more opportunities to step up in a leadership aspect where you don't need Sam Gagner in the locker room. And I feel like as much as you love Sam Gagner, he's a player that is on the back nine of his career. And obviously, I still feel like he's an NHL player, but I don't think he's as needed as he was going into last year.
Dude's got another 5 years in him, I guarantee you. Yeah, no, and the reason why I love Sam Gagner because he was the first player to come to the Oilers once Ryan Smith left. That was like, this is the guy that's going to change this organization. And like, I don't know. He was supposed to be the captain over Andrew Ference. I'm still angry about that. If you want to talk to me about why I'm not an Oilers fan, we've got a full podcast where I could rant and rave. I still love my Oilers. I just, the Jets are better in my opinion. Like we're getting close to the season. Do you want to do a Central Division standings breakdown?
Yeah, for sure. Let's
All
go
right.
through that.
Let's go through it. Where do you want to start at the top or do you want to start at the bottom here?
I think it'll be easier to start at the bottom.
All right, let's go 8-1. Let's hear your top your eighth spot here.
So my eighth spot here is going to be the Chicago Blackhawks.
They just got beefy though. Like
Yeah, they did get Bedard.
they
So
got Bedard, they got Taylor Hall, they got Nick Foligno.
yeah,
Okay, so their forward group is phenomenal, but I couldn't tell you a single defender besides Seth Jones on that team.
and their goalies are still
Whoa, what
horrendous.
you're gonna rip on Peter Mrazek, Leafs legend? Oh, really? Okay. I still have Arizona below Chicago. Like I think Chicago's actually going to take a step forward, and then I think they're going to be like in sixth spot in the Central.
In the seventh spot for me, it's tough. It's because I feel like there's like three teams that could be in this situation here, and it's more on who I'm higher on and lower on. And just based on some of the moves they've made and the direction of the team, I feel like the St. Louis Blues might be that seventh spot there. Just I feel
Yeah.
like Bennington might throw a hissy fit or something like that, and they might trade away some of their older core players like Braden Shen or something like that. Like this year they didn't make the playoffs, and I feel like there's a real overall change. Like they were selling at the deadline, they sold two of their corner pieces, and I feel like that could continue into next season. But again, with 7 through 5 for me, they're extremely close and all interchangeable based on like I'd say they're all within maybe 5 points.
Yeah, I'm really in the same boat with you on that. Like it could change. Like St. Louis was my number 7 team. So, 6 Chicago, St. Louis 7, and Arizona 8. So yeah, and then there's almost Nashville too, where they could do one of two things and they could be real feisty and no one sees Nashville coming, or Nashville is going to be on that lower echelon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like my three teams that I had from 7 through 5 was St. Louis in seventh, and then Coyotes in sixth place, and then Nashville in fifth place.
In fifth place. Yeah. Yeah. Like you don't want to say anything bad about Nashville because like they've been just such a juggernaut for so long that
Yeah,
it's
and
it's weird.
like the only reason why I had the Predators above the Blues and Coyotes there is just UC Saros alone. Like I
Yeah,
feel like he just carries them higher than if like in terms of most important goalies, Connor Hellebuck is definitely near the top of that list, but I feel like UC Saros is another name right alongside Hellebuck in that case. So if they didn't have
absolutely.
him, I feel like the Predators would probably be 100% 7 or 8.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, they came out of nowhere towards the end of the season. Like, were we not talking about them and the Flames being like the two teams that could catch the Jets right at the end?
Yeah.
So, like Nashville, like we thought they were dead in the water deadline day, and they came back for a bit of a resurrection just for the fun of it. So let's get to the interesting meat and potatoes. Where are
Yeah.
the Jets? Let's rip through 4 through 1 here.
At number 4, I really want to say the Wild. I really do, but I feel like it might be the Jets again.
You monster.
I really want to say the Wild here, but like I feel like they have a lot of good young players. They have Philip Gustafson, who just had an amazing year. And again, like I want to put the Jets higher, but again, I don't know how the players are going to mesh with Connor Hellebuck and Shifley in question. I like you can't deny that come deadline day, those two players may not be on the team anymore. So I can't say the same thing about the Wild here. So I have the Jets finishing fourth, and if they trade away Hellebuck and or Shifley, I could see them dropping into that fifth spot probably.
Yeah, you're kind of right about that. But I mean, they're still working with old man Marc-Andre Fleury. Like, if even like, I guess goalies are just voodoo, so we don't know who's actually going to turn it on and who's not.
Yeah,
So
I feel like Fleury might not even be the starter there anymore. I feel like Philip
Gustus,
Gustafson might just
yeah, he's
take
kind
over
of,
the Neto.
yeah, he's
Yeah.
took that spot over. Um, but I mean, like, that was his first season where he really. Oh yeah, I forgot he played in Ottawa. Either way, Philip Gustafson. Sorry, now we're going through some rabbit holes. Um, I mean, he's only played 66 career games. I mean, yeah, he's got a 33 or 32, 22, and 10 record. He might be the guy. Damn it, you're
And the
right
save
again,
percent
Ray.
the save percentage too. I think he was second in save percentage as well. Like he had a 931 save percentage in
920. Oh, wait, that's career. My bad.
931 save percentage in 39 games this year.
And 210 goals against. Yeah, we might be talking about a real starter over there. This is, man, I wish we had the money to pay you real money. Because, wow, look at you pulling it out. Okay, so we got Minnesota 3 for you.
Yeah.
And you're two, I guess. Well, let's hear you 2-1.
I think this is the year where Colorado isn't the top team. I feel like the loss of Gabe Landeskog, the losses of some of their depth players that were key parts of that bottom six. I don't. It's not like there's still a top two team in the Central, but I have Colorado too. And again, like it's hard to go against the best defensemen in the league. It's hard to go against Rantanen and McKinnon. But besides those main players and losing out on a main piece in Landeskog, I think it's going to be hard to keep up with Dallas in that sense there.
Yeah, and I mean, like Dallas's top line there of Rupe Hintz, Robertson, and Pavelski is no, he's not
Yeah,
playing on that top.
Pavelski.
Is it
Yeah.
Pavelski? Yeah.
Yeah.
Either like that, just a dominant line. They're not going to slow down. Like I have Dallas in my number one spot as well. Um, Colorado two, Jets in Minnesota were flipped. So not a huge debate on what's happening in the Central. Um, barring a Shifley or Hellebuck trade, like you said. So
Barring you don't believe in Arizona.
whoa. Listen, I'll believe in Arizona hockey the day that they get out of, well, they leave the Coyotes behind, or Glendale. I don't know what they're doing, but
Yeah.
you
I
know,
just really like the depth that Arizona has now, and they also have Logan Cooley gonna be full-time NHLer. So, and then they also signed Matt Dumba, and we know how good Carl Bejmelka can be against the Jets there too. I still have nightmares about him making over 50 saves in the shutout. So
And that dude only shows up for games against, like, he has good games otherwise, but he just turns it on for the Jets for no reason. It's just like, yeah, whatever, and does it on a regular basis. Like, I've won money because of that guy, where I'm like, oh, the Jets are taking on Vamelka.
yeah,
Yeah,
Velmelka,
the
Bejmelka
Vamelka.
doesn't really
That
matter.
dude, yeah, I just don't got time for those Russian goaltenders. I'll fight them all.
I think he's Czech, but
Well, then even better. There's less of them. uh, Man, that's well, besides Morgan Barron participating in the PGA tournament here at the Manitoba Open, I don't have much to talk about.
yeah,
Yeah.
seems kind of a shorter week.
This is just a shorter week. I mean, like, go listen to Dropping the Gloves because John Scott's hilarious to listen to from time to time. Also, if you guys want to participate in a fantasy league, feel free to message myself or Ray. We're gonna start looking at getting all of that set up for, I don't know. We'll figure out a date for that
Yeah,
before the preseason, we'll say.
yeah, we'll figure out a time
We'll
to
figure out
make it work.
something. It will work out. So if you want to be a part of Jets Nation Radio Fantasy, message one of us. We'll get everything coordinated there, and yeah, probably do it through ESPN. Give us a message. Ray, where are we going to find you out on the internet?
You can find me at ray.how on Instagram, and yeah, just send me any message for joining the fantasy league or any questions that you want covered. So
Yeah,
looking forward to hearing from you guys.
yeah, absolutely. Also, feel free to, like, just drop questions in the comments too. Like, we accept all those questions. So, um, you can find me Angus out on Instagram. That's basically it. Jetsnation.ca. Give it a check. Check that one out. Check out all of our social medias. Make sure you like and subscribe. Ray, have a fantastic week. Go Jets, go. Peace and
Go Jets,
grace.
go.